Yeah, good evening to everyone. In the previous class, we have seen call by value. Okay. These are the points that we have already discussed in the call by value and call by reference. Okay. So moving to the call by reference. The call by reference tells about that here we are passing that address of the variables. So when you are passing that address of variables, here we can use an ampersand operator because it is a pointer. Okay. Call by reference. So when we declare a function, okay, the parameter reference rather than the normal variable, we can use that pointer variable. So pointer is always pointing to the address of another variable. So to address that pointer variable, here we use that symbol called ampersand. So this ampersand will give you that the reference that is to be passed to that function. Okay, whenever the call is occurred, for that calling to that called function, if you are going to be access with the references, you must and should you need to use it an ampersand operator. Okay, but here in the call by value, you are not going to be modified content. You are not going to be get back to that main method. Okay, but here in this, the changes that are done in the arguments that will receives and that will be visible to that main method also. Okay, simple example here I will show you a sample fragment of code. Okay, for example, here I'm showing the two examples. Write a function to swap the values of two variables. Either you can use call by value, call by reference. Both I am explaining, and find the biggest number of. Okay, you need to be identify the maximum number between the given three numbers, but you need to be do using functions. Okay, now see here, this is a sample example. Okay, so here I've taken two different functions. One is call by value, second one is call by reference. In the call by value, directly I'm passing the values. If it is a reference, must and should you need to be pointer. Pointer is always start with a star symbol. Okay, and here, so here we are passing that we taken that two A, B, C, D, four variables. A, B, C, D already had different static values only. So before calling to that function, first I need to be print that what is the values of A and B. So what is the value of A? A is a 1, B is a 2. Okay, and here I'm calling that one of the function called swap call by value, and here I'm passing that AB is a parameters. Okay, so when the call is occurred, the compiler will check that function prototyping. What is the function prototyping? Here we have written it is a void which does not return anything, and it has two parameters. One is integer, second one is also integer. Then A is an integer data type, yes. B is an integer data type, yes. Okay, once it is matched, then control goes to that swap call by value called function. Call occurred, then control goes to the called function definition and declaration. So here we pass that both are accessed with the variables A and B. Okay, here we have taken the temp variable. A is assigned to temp, B value is assigned to A, and temp is assigned to B. So this logic already you know, swapping of two different numbers. Okay, after that I'm trying to be printing that what are the values of A and B. Okay, so previously what is the value that we are getting? A value is 1, B value 2. After the swapping, what is the values we are getting? A value is 1, A value is 2, B value is 1. Okay, after the function completion, after the task is over of this swap by call, then immediately control go back to the main method where the call is occurred, and rest of the statements in your main method will be executed. What are the statements that we have written in the main method? We printed once again, here we printed that once again A and B values. Okay, so first initially here the call is occurred. Okay, so it will print after that call is occurred and the fragment of code is executed. Once the fragment of code is completed, once again get back to the same line, and rest of the lines available in your source code will be executed. So here we are getting that initially A value is 1, B value is 2. Okay, when the call is occurred in the calling, so okay, so A value is passed as a 1, B value is 2. Now temp is allocated 1, B is allocated to A. So what is the B value? 2? 2 is allocated to A. Now what is the value of A? So that means that 2. Now B is allocated to temp. What is the temp? Contains 1. So now A value is 2, B value is 1. So here we are printing that A value 2, B value 1. Okay. After that, so once again the task is over. Here we don't have any communication from call by value method to that main method. We don't have any communication. In the main method, what is the value of A and B? 1 and 2. Okay, after the swapping, 2 and 1. In the main method, what is the value of A and B? Once again, you will get only 1 and 2 only. You will get only 102 only. So that means that it will finally print that AB values are 1 2 2 1 1 2. Okay. Now check that code. So when you run this fragment of code, now check it. This is the call by value method. Okay. This is the call by value. So first we are getting that A value 1, B value 2. Okay. So this is the value. And after that, in the swapping, we printed that A to B1. So this is the value. Okay. Within the main method, what is the values of A and B? 1 and 2. Okay. So when in the call by method, in the call by value method, here, whatever the variables updated, what are the modification that you have done, that is not referenced to that is not written back to that main method. Here we are using that void, which does not return anything, and any modification is not yet done. Even if you use return also, the value is modified value is not going to be back to the communication to that main method. For example, if you see in the call by reference, in the call by reference, if you declare a function as a parameter as a references rather than the normal variable, okay, instead of normal variable, here you need to be pass references. To pass that references, you need to use that symbol called ampersand to access the address of the variable. So actually pointer is represented with star and the value associated. Okay. So the value associated to the variable is accessed with ampersand and then value associated, whatever the address that we have specified. Okay. So, but here, if any changes that is done by the function to the argument, it will receive and it is visible to that calling program. When the call is occurred, for that call also it will reflect. Okay. So what it means, for example, same example with call by reference, same example. Okay. Now once again, cross check it. So what are the values of in the main method? What are the values of C and D? Okay. C and D I'm printing. C is 3, D is 4. First I'm printing that C value 3, D value 4. Then immediately here I'm calling that, okay, call by reference. Whenever if I specified as a reference, must and should you need to use that ampersand. Ampersand tells about that address of C and address of D is passed as a parameter. So then in that case, then immediately control goes to that where the reference is referred. So here we referred. Now here we referred as this is a 3, this is a 4. These are the two pointer variables. Now I taken a temp. Okay, temp is assigned with the pointer. Okay, whatever the pointer value that we have assigned to temp, and D is nothing but 4. 4 is assigned to pointer 3, and pointer 4 contains pointer D contains temp. What is the pointer D contains 3? And whenever the values are updated, it will automatically its information is also will be visible to that main method. So finally it will print that it's a 3 and then C value is 4, D value is 3. And in the main method here, cross check it in the main method after the main method, okay, after the call by reference is over, then here also I'm trying to be printing that what is the C and D values, because C and D both are pointing to the address of variable. The memory is changed. Once the memory is changed, once again we can get that the same values. Here also we can get that C value D 4, D value 3. So initially it is 3 and 4. Now it is 4 and 3. Okay. So those values here we can get it. Now see this. This is the call by reference. Okay. So in the call by reference value, so initially this is the main method related. In the main method, what is the C and D values? Okay. In the call by reference, okay. In the function we are getting that C and D values. Okay. And we in the main method, what are the C and D? Once again I'm printing because it's the updated values are visible to the main method. That's why we are getting that C is a 4, D is a 3. So like that we can get the reference or the communication between that main method to that other functions. This is the major issue. Okay, this is the major thing that you need to be remember. In the call by value, you don't have any communication. Okay, but in the call by reference, the variable modified values are to be communicated to that main method. Okay, so this is a sample example. Okay, so here this is called function prototyping, and this is the main method, and this is a user defined methods, call by value, and then call by reference. Okay, this is a sample example, cross check it. So whenever you are in the free time, try to execute this fragment of code and you will get that clarify your whatever the codes that you have not executed, just clarify it. And Another task I am asking you to. So find the biggest between the three numbers using functions. Okay. For example, I have the three different numbers. For example, num1, num2, num3. Okay. Three numbers I have, and identify the maximum number between these three numbers. So I'm asking the user to provide the number from keyboard. Okay. To read any value from the keyboard, if it is integer data type, we need the format specifier %d. So we are asking the user to provide enter the first number, scan of %d, ampersand number, num1. So like that, number 2 I am reading, number 3 I am reading. Okay. Parallelly, three numbers read from keyboard. Okay. Now we passed, okay, these three numbers to a function called greater. Okay. Greater of num1, num2, num3. How many parameters we passed? Three parameters, num1, num2, num3. So whenever the call is occurred, then compiler will check that whether that calling function related either function prototyping that you have written or not. Okay. Now function prototyping already available before the main method. Suppose if you return that function is after the main, must and should you need to be write function prototyping. Otherwise, you need to be write. Suppose if you don't want to be write that function prototyping, the function declaration and definition, everything you need to be write before the main method. Okay. Now before the main method, you need to be write it. Okay. So here the greater is a function name and it is integer data type. It has three parameters A, B, C. Now actual parameters are num1, num2, num3. They are recognized as a formal parameter called A, B, C. Okay. Now in that function definition and declaration, we recognize with the values of A, B, C values only. Now I am going to be compare with A, B, C. Okay. First, I would like to compare A is greater than B and A is greater than C. If both the conditions are satisfied, then I can specify that a big number or large number is called A. Okay. Instead of taking a third variable, big or another large number, simply I would like to return that value. And I would like to return value called A. Whenever if I return A value, for example, A value is 10, B value is 5, C value is 6. Assume that. So that means that number 1 is entered as a 10, number 2 is entered as a 5, number 3 is entered as 6. Okay, these 10, 5, 6 are referred in the when the call is occurred, it will referred as num1. Okay, in the definition, the values are to be copied to A, copied to B, copied to C. Num2 value is copied to B, num3 value is copied to C. So they are recognized with ABC. Now I am checking that is 10 greater than 5, is 10 greater than 6. Yes, that condition is true. Once if this condition is true, then I return to the A. Whenever if I identify return A, that control will be get back to that. Okay, it will give you the communication to the main method where the call is occurred. Here the call is occurred. Okay, when the call is occurred, that value will be assigned to that large, because here we have using that return type integer. The value will be returned to that main method and it will be stored into the variable called large. So already we defined the variable called large. Now the large contains value called 10, and simply I am printing the 10. Suppose if I given A value is 10, B value is 50 and C value is 6. Okay, now compare it. Is 10 greater than 50? 10 greater than 6? No. That condition is failed. Okay, so if that condition is failed, that means that you are checking that A greater than B and A greater than C. In both the conditions are satisfied, then we specify that A is a big number. If that condition is failed, then the big number is between B and C only. Now I'm trying to check the comparison between B and C. Okay, what are the values of A? A is a 10, B value is 50, A is a 10, B value is 6. Is 10 greater than 50? This condition failed. Once this condition is failed, then immediately it goes to the else if block. So here this is the if condition. If this condition is true, then return A. If that condition is failed, else block. In the else block, what I have written? B greater than A, B greater than C. Or you can write B greater than A and then parallelly B greater than C. You can write both the condition. Both are valid case. Then what is the difference between this condition and this condition? Means if A is not max number, no need to be checked with A with once again B or B with A. Okay, no need to be checked like that. So this is unnecessary condition. Okay, this part. So instead of doing that part, so directly I'm going to the b greater than c. If b greater than c, that is nothing but 50 greater than 6, that means that what is the maximum number? 50 is the maximum number. So then I need to be written that b. Otherwise, c I need to be written. So all these are represented with return statements. All are represented with return statement. Now see here at the bottom. Okay. So either you can write b greater than, so otherwise I can write only this condition b greater than c. Okay. If that condition is true, then return b. Otherwise, return c. Okay. Once again, control goes to where the call is occurred. Line number 11, call occurred. Once the call is occurred, the control goes to the called function, okay, definition, and then body of that function it will execute, and the value will be returned back to that main method 11. Okay, in the 11th line you can identify, and it will print that largest value in the 11th line large variable, and I'm trying to printing that in the main method large value. Okay, suppose if I executed this fragment of code, you can check that the values 3 different cases. Sometimes I am giving the a value is max number. Sometimes I will give the b value is max number. Sometimes c value will be max number. So 3 different cases we will see. Okay. First number case 10, 5, 6. In this case, a is a max number. That's why we are getting a is a max number. Suppose if I re-executed the same code, okay, but if I given a value is 10, b value is 50, c value is called 6. Now what is the maximum value? B value. Okay. And suppose if I given c is the maximum case, a is 10, okay, b is 50, but c is 90. Okay. Now in this case, c is the maximum number. At any point of time, we can identify that maximum number. Okay. So like that, we can write the maximum number between the given 3 numbers using functions. Here, what is the function name? Here I use, here what is the function name? Greater. Okay. You can use any function name. So not only it is not mandatory to use the same function name, you can use any function name. Okay. So like that, we can compare 3 different numbers. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Anyone recap is needed? Anyone? Are you following, or can I repeat once again?
No, sir.
Can I move to the next program?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. Here, the another program, another implementation with call by value. So this is also a call by value. Okay. So here I'm invoking another program. So for example, if I given a string, okay. For example, if I given any string, I need to be calculate the length of the string using functions. Actually, we have to calculate the length of the string. We have inbuilt function called string length, strlen. So without using this function, user defined function, how we can write it? Okay, now see here. So in the main method, I define a character array with a size of 100. Now I'm asking the user to provide a string. Okay, for example, if I provided the string called hello, okay, to read that string, okay, from the keyboard, here we can use that scanf statement or getters. Okay, so getters is one of the string handling function to read a string from the keyboard. Okay, here I'm entering the value through the keyboard. Now str contains hello. Now I'm asking the user to provide that string. Now user provided that string hello. Now I need to be calculate the length of the string. Okay, for that here I invoked one of the function called string length. This is a user defined function. Whenever the call is occurred, then control goes to the calling function. Where the call is occurred, here the call is occurred. Okay, when the call is occurred, then control goes to the calling function definition and declaration. here you can identify the declaration. It's an array. We passed an array as a parameter. str is an array. Okay. Now str is passed as a parameter. Now initially identified that length is 0. Okay. Now I'm checking that str of length. What is the length value? 0. str of 0th position is equal to null. So this is the, so here we have taken the string called hello. This is 0th position, first position, second position, third position, fourth position, like that. Okay. Now you can check that str of 0. So this is a string. Okay. This is a string contains some particular positions. Okay. Okay. Now this is recognized with str. Now we are checking that str of 0th position contains that h. Is h is not equivalent to null. Cross check it. Yes. Then immediately increase the length value. What is the length? 0. If 0, if it is increased, now it is to be 1. Now I am checking that str of 1th position. What is the 1th position? E. Is E equal to null? No. Then increment that length value. Now it is to be 2. Is str of 2th character. Str of second character, what it have? L. Is L equal to null? No. So like that, whenever the null is occurred, we are moving that length variable. Once it is reached to that null, then simply I'm going to be terminating from that loop and I am returning to that main method. Okay. In the main method, I am returning, but here I'm not in a position to store into another variable. Directly, I'm calling to the print function. Directly, it can print that length. Okay. 5 on the screen. Okay. So because we pass directly, we pass with the print. Suppose if you are going to be stored in any variable, you need to be take another variable. Okay. For example, result. Okay. R for result, integer R is result. So R is assigned to this function and you need to be print that R. So printf the length of the string %d slash n double quotations close comma, and you need to be pass that variable R, you need to be pass and semicolon. So like that you need to be write it. Okay, this is a sample example to find the length of the string without using string handling functions, but user defined functions. Without using any string handling function, but user defined function. Okay, now simply see that trying to execute it. Okay, so here I'm providing the length of the string hello. So you can get the length of the string, right? This is one of the example. Here you can identify that passing entire array as a parameter to a function. Passing entire array as a parameter to a function. Okay. Now when we are passing parameter to a function, so generally we will see different cases. Those are called 4 cases we will see. So one is without arguments and without any return type. So we can call any function without any arguments list and without any return type. Okay. Our second case. Okay. In the second case, you can write without argument, but with any return value. With any return type or with any return value. Okay. And third case, with arguments you have in the function, when the call is occurred, you have passed some arguments and without any return type. So simply you are printing that void. Okay. And the fourth case, okay. And the fourth case, with the arguments and with any return value, with any return type or value. Okay. So now we will see all these 4. Okay. In a simple example. Okay. For example, I would like to print an array. For example, array contains 1, 2, 3. I need to be read that array and I need to be print that array. Okay. I need to be read array and print array. Okay. So same program, how we can see in 4 different cases. That's I will tell you. Okay. So here, so I would like to take a new file. Okay. So now this is a main method. Okay. So now I would like to save this program with a file extension called function with the array dot C. Okay. So for that, here, for reading purpose, I am taking one function. For reading purpose, I would like to take one function. And for printing purpose, I'm taking another function. Two different functions. Reading purpose, one function, and printing purpose, another function. Okay. Whenever the call is occurred reading, then control goes to that reading function. Okay. So here I'm writing that reading function. Reading. Okay. Otherwise, so instead of reading directly, we can use, okay, for example, within the main method, no need to be reading separate. Directly here you can write it integer. For example, you need to be take an array with size 10. Okay. And n is a variable. What is n? So now I'm asking the user to provide, enter the size of array. Enter the size of array. Okay. So to read that value from the keyboard, scanf %d. So read the value from the keyboard. That is nothing but percentage. Okay. I'm asking the user to provide that number. So how many elements that you have? Suppose, so instead of 10, I would like to take a size little bit 50. Okay, like that. Okay. When the user entered that size from that position, from 0th position to up to the 10, I would like to read the value from the keyboard. Okay. So here I is not defined loop variable. Now I'm defining that loop variable I. Okay. To read any value from the keyboard, simply use the scanf. Okay. The format specifier for integer is %d and array name is a. So ampersand and array name followed by the position you need to be specified within the square package. So now reading is over. Okay. And to print that content on the screen, simply array reading and printing generally. Okay. So I'm not talking about right now function, simply reading and printing in a main method only. Okay. So here I'm using that printf. The array elements are okay. To print, we need once again for looping technique. Already we have written. I would like to reuse that loop. Instead of scanf, you need to use that print the content printf, and I don't want in the printf statement ampersand is not needed. So then every element is separated by a comma. Okay. For new line purpose, here I'm using /n for every line. Okay. For every line, when I'm taking a new line for that purpose, I'm taking /n. This is simply reading and printing of an array. So I would like to run this fragment of code. Okay. So it will ask you enter the size of array. For example, my size of array contains 4. So the elements are, for example, 1, 5, 6, 2. Then the elements are printed as 1, 5, 6, 2 like that. So this is the reading and printing. But you need to do with the functions. First category. What is the first category? Without argument, without any return type. Without argument, without any return type, you need to do that program. Okay, this is simply array reading and printing. Okay, so you don't need to be pass any argument, and you don't need to be written anything also. Okay, simply whatever the fragment of code I have written, okay, that I need to be cut. Okay, so simply here I'm taking that one function called, okay, array. Okay, my function name array, we will use it. Okay, so one of the function I will call. Okay, what is the naming convention we can give? Without argument, without any return type. Okay, can I call function name is without argument, without, so it's take too lengthy, so don't use such type of notations. Okay, simply I would like to use a display function. Okay, simply this is a display. So in the display function, are we passed any parameters? No. So that is called without argument. That is the meaning of without argument. Okay, without any return type. So it does not return anything. Okay, simply you need to be write that function Simply you need to be write that function with a void only. Okay. Display. So whenever you represented void, it does not return anything. So this is so without any parameters, without any return type. And in the display method, here I represented main fragment of code. So in the display method, simply whatever the code that I copied and I would like to paste it. Okay, in the main method, what I call display method, I call. Okay, whenever the call is occurred, control goes to the display function and it will execute. Is there any return parameters? Am I written anything? No, we not yet written anything. Okay, simply run this code. Simply run this code. Okay, so here the array size we defined with 5. So I'm providing the numbers 2, 3, 5, 6, 4. So the numbers it will print like this. Okay, and suppose you want to be write another program without arguments, but it needs to be written some value. It needs to be written some value. Okay, so to return any value here, instead of void, I need to be take some integer. Which value you are planning to return. So I am planning to return, okay, the last element or array of 0th element. Okay, so in that array, so what is array name A? In that array name, so I would like to return 0th element. Okay, so 0th element I need to be returned to that main method here. So I need to be take a variable called value. Okay, so what is the value that we have? What is the value? The value is having in the display function. Whenever the display function is called in the display function, here we have taken an array. In that array, whatever the 0th element that we have given, that element here in the main method I'm accessing, and I'm trying to be print that value. Printf %d, and I need to be print that value. Okay, so simply I'm specifying that first index value. First index value is, I need to be print like this. So if you observe this second case, so here without arguments, are we passed any argument to the display function? No, we have not passed anything. And with any return value, you need to be written any value. Simply I return that value in that entire array, whatever the 0th element that we have, that 0th element I need to be passed to that main method. In that main method, to which variable I saved, in which variable I need to be saved that value in a value variable. And simply I am trying to be printing that value variable. Okay, so here, so am I need the entire array elements? If you need, then you can use it. Okay, simply I would like to run the code. Okay, so now here we are getting an error because the line ended with the semicolon. We have not represented, put that semicolon and then re-execute that code. Okay, now see here. So now what is the array size? For example, my array size 4 elements. What are the array elements? For example, 10, 20, 30, 40. These are the array elements. Once array elements are printed, okay, so where the first index statement we represented in the main method we represented. Okay, in the main method you can identify that the first index value we are getting. Okay, that means that once the array elements are given here 10, 20, 30 and then 40, after the completion of this entire statement will give you that printing of entire array. After that printing, here what we represented, array of 0 element will be written to that main method. Okay, here the call is occurred. When the call is occurred, the value will be written. So whatever the value that we return, we need to be store or we need to be do anything. If you want to be print directly, you can write it in the printf statement. But I need to be stored in some particular variable. So for that purpose, here I have taken a variable called value. In that value, I need to be store it, and here I access. So now we can, so whatever the value that we have 0th index, whatever the 10 we have, that is passed and that will be printed on the screen. Suppose if I given array of 3 means array of third element. What is the third element? 0th position, first position, second position, third position. What is the third position? 40. 40 will be printed on the screen. But it is not a first index. It may be a fourth index, third index related value. Okay, fourth position, third index value, because array starts with 0. Okay, so like that we can access. Okay, so this is a sample example related to that second case. What is the second case? Without any without arguments and with any return value. Okay, without any arguments and you need to be written some value. We have written some value. Okay, and third case we will see. Moving on to the third case, you need to pass an argument without any return value. Okay, so for example, I would like to take a fresh code. I don't want to disturb this code. Okay, so here, so whatever the code we have already written, so most of the codes I will copy and then paste here. Okay, now see here. Here I have taken a main method. So what is the third case? You need to be talk with the arguments. With arguments, and you don't want to be call anything. Okay, you need to be pass an argument. Okay, so for that purpose, already we have written some code. Okay, so already we have taken an array and the array reading part is over. Okay, so that I would like to consider. Now see here. First I would like to save this one. Okay, now see here. Okay, so now here I have taken an array and n and I. So I'm asking the user to provide the size of array. Okay, size of array I'm passed as a parameter. I mean, I need to be read the value from the keyboard and array arrayed. And here I would like to print the array in another function, display function. So here I'm passing the array as a parameter and size I am passing 2 parameters. So what is the task that we are doing? We are preparing a function with the arguments. So what is the arguments that we passed? Array and then n. What is the A stands for? Array name. N stands for size of your array. Size of your array. So once if you pass these 2 parameters, then immediately the control goes to that where the display method you have written. Okay, and you need to be write the display without any return type. You need to be write the display without any return type. Okay, so for that, so here I'm writing that, so which is it doesn't return anything, simply void display. Okay, and but the display contains the 2 parameters. We have written only, we have not written any parameters. What is the parameters? First one is an array. Okay, so here A is an array and A array will be recognized with the name called ARR. Okay, in my point of view, A means ARR. Okay, so N is nothing but size of your array. So now I consider as size, SIGT. Okay, now array is accessed with the variable name in the called function ARR and size N is accessed with a variable called size. Okay, now here I would like to print that value. Okay, so I would like to print that variable. I need a loop variable. So I am taking a loop variable. Okay, I for I equal to 0, I less than up to size, I plus plus. Okay, so to print any content on the screen, we need to use the printf function, printf %d. Okay, %d. Every element I need to be give some space /t. Okay, and after that, what is the array name in that function? ARR, and that elements are accessed with a position variable called I. Okay, now this is a simple fragment of code. Now see here. So now see. So what is the case that we are seeing? With arguments case, we are having some arguments and without any return type. Okay, without any return type means you don't need to be talking about any particular data type related. Simply void you need to be passed. It does not return anything. Okay, with arguments. How many arguments? 2 arguments we pass. What are the arguments? One is A, one is another one N. A stands for array, N stands for number of elements. These 2 are recognized in the definition with ARR and then size. Okay, when I is 0, I less than size, I plus plus, it will be recognized array of ith position. So here I'm not going to be returning any value. Reading in the main method, pass that array to the display function, and once again in the display function, and I'm trying to be printing that array. Okay, so here I don't want any. Okay, so here I'm not going to be any return values and I am not going to be store any value also. Simply I call that function. Okay, So here I would like to print anything, any content. The array elements are the array elements are. So I would like to print the statement like this. For leave line purpose, I am using slash and end with the semicolon. Okay. So now I'm trying to re-execute the same code. Now see here. What is the error that we are getting? Printf. What is the error? Can anyone tell me what is the error here? I will show you the error report also. This is error report. Now check here. You can see identify one error that we have. Can anyone tell me that error? How many arguments we are passing? How many arguments we are passing here? How many arguments we are passing? In the display function, how many arguments that we are passing? 2 arguments. What are the argument? A and N. A stands for array. Okay, when the call is occurred, the control goes to the declaration and definition. In the declaration and definition, both you have defined as an integer. You are not defined an array. How we can define an array? With the square brackets only. We didn't mention that one. Okay. If you mention square brackets, then only it will be treated as an array. Otherwise, it's a simple variable only. Okay. Now simply save and then re-execute that code. Okay. So here I'm providing the array size 5. The elements are 20, 30, 10, 5, 6. Now every element is separated with a slash t. Here we written that slash t and 20, 30, 10, 5, 6. Like that it will print it. Whenever an array is passed as a parameter to the function, in the function call occurred case, simply pass that array name only. No need of any square brackets. During the call occurred, in the declaration function calling, okay, called function declaration must and should you need to be defined square brackets. Here no need of any sizes. Directly array pass. Okay, that size that we are accessing with the size variable. Okay, this is a simple example in the third case with arguments without any return type. Okay, and fourth case with arguments and with any return type. I need to be pass an argument and with any return type also. Okay, so for same code I am taking, simply selecting all the source code. Simply I need to be copy. Okay, and I would like to take a new empty file. So here I pasted. Okay, so what is the next activity? You need to pass with arguments. Already you passed an argument. Okay, and what is the value? You need to be written any value. Okay, so instead of after that entire array printing here, I need to be take a return. So in that array, okay, I would like to return some third position element. I need to be written some third position element. Okay, and the third position element here, I need to be accessed in this one. Okay, here I'm taking that result. Okay, result, and I'm specifying that printf. Okay, %d. Here I specified that the third indexed value. Indexed. Now tell me, here can I access now in this fragment of code? Once again, I'm repeating. So here you need to be give the clarification. So the fourth case with argument case with any return value. Okay, with arguments. Here we pass 2 arguments. What are the arguments? A and then N. A and then N is passed as a parameter. Now it will be accessed with the function declaration ARR, and then N is accessed with the variable name called size. Now I return that array of third variable as a parameter. That return value will be passed to that main method and we stored in the result variable. Line number 20 we stored, and I would like to print that result. I would like to print that result. Okay. For new line concept, okay, instead of overwriting with the previous content, I am using /n. Okay. Now I would like to save this program and rerun that code. Now what is the result? Are we declared? Not declared. Now declare that result variable. It's an integer variable because we are returning that third index. It is an integer array that we are returning integer value. Okay. Now still we are getting. What is that error? Can anyone? Check that error report. Now see the error. What is the error? Void value not ignored as it out of to be. What is the case that we are returning? With argument, and you need to be return any value. Okay. If any value it is, if you are planning to return, what is the data type of your display function? What is the value that you are returning? An integer array you are returning. Okay. Integer array, particular element. Okay. So in that case, is it void or integer? Is it void or integer? You are returning some integer value. Okay. You must and should, you need to mention that int. Okay. And run that code. So what is your array size? 5. Array size 5. Array elements 10, 25, 35, 45, 55. Okay. These are the array elements. Okay. What is the third indexed value? What is the third indexed value? So 0th index is this one, 10, first index, second index, third index. Now we are printing the third index value. So printing that value will be passed from passed from where to where? From where to where we can get it? That value. Array reading, printing. In the printing, I passed as a parameter to that once again main method. Okay. Okay. So in that variable, whatever we have, that value directly can access array of 3 here itself. But instead of the here, I need to be call from that main to display to main, and then in the main, I'm trying to be printing that result variable. So this is a fourth case. So like that, we can write functions in 4 different cases. Okay. Without argument or without any return type. Without argument, with any return value. With arguments, without any return value. Okay. With arguments, with any return value. So like this, we can write the functions in 4 different cases. Is it clear, everyone? All these 4 cases is clear. Okay. Can I go with another example? Can I take another example? Yeah. So here I'm explaining another program. Okay. For example, I need to read a 2-dimensional matrix. Okay. So here I would like to save this program first. For example, I need to take a two-dimensional matrix. To read a two-dimensional matrix, we need dimensions. They are called rows and then columns. So R stands for rows, C stands for columns. Okay, if you need both, I can write it. So row and column. And I'm defining a matrix A with a size of 10 rows and then 10 columns. 10 rows and then 10 columns. Now I'm asking the user to provide the matrix, number of rows and number of columns. Now I'm asking the user to printf, enter the rows and then columns. For new line purpose, I'm using slashing. To read any value from the keyboard, we can use scanf. Okay. How many parameters? Here we are trying to be reading 2 parameters. Okay. So that's why I taken 2% Ds. Okay. First parameter is row. Second parameter is column. Both the values I'm trying to be read from the keyboard. Okay. So whatever the size that you entered, I need to be read the elements. Printf, enter the array elements. Yeah, you can repeat any. So now I'm planning to read the elements, array elements. To read array elements, here for row purpose, I'm taking one loop I, and for column purpose, I need to take j. For I will row 0 position to I up to that particular row. Okay. So each and every time I'm incrementing that I value. And for column purpose, I'm taking the j. J is not I and j is not initialized. I will initialize. So to read any value from the keyboard, array elements reading. So any elements, any reading purpose, we can use scanf only. Okay. So only one element we are reading at any point of time, that is recognized with a particular row and then column. Row and then column is recognized with the I and then j. Okay. So here I and j is not initialized. Now I'm initializing that I value and then j value. Okay. Simply a two-dimensional matrix reading, two-dimensional matrix that I'm trying to be reading from keyboard. Okay. Two-dimensional matrix. Okay. So and for display function, here I'm passing that my array name and then rows, how many rows I read and how many columns. So for display function, a two-dimensional array matrix reading and printing. So for that here I'm using that display function. Okay. So here the array is recognized with the ARR. So like that previous example, rows are recognized with the R, columns are recognized with the C. So this is the parameter mechanism. Okay. And here to print the content on the screen, the array elements, just reading and then printing. Okay. Printf, the array elements are, so I need to be print the values of all the arrays. Okay. So simply, so here also we need a looping technique. So simply instead of rewriting, so here also I'm using loop, but instead of a row, we'll recognize with a variable called C. Okay. R and then C. So to print that content, we need a printf. Okay. And when we are reading any value from the keyboard, we need to use an ampersand in the scanf statement. For new line purpose, here we'll go with that after every row printing. For every line, every row printing, I'm using /n. Okay. If you need any space, use that /t for presentation point of view, good presentation point of view. This comes under that which category among all the 4 cases? Are you written any arguments? So that means that you passed 3 arguments you passed. Okay. So that means that either third case or fourth case with arguments, without any return type, or with return type. Are we written any value? No. So this comes under that which case among all these 4? Which case? Third case. With arguments and without any return value. Without any return value. Okay. Now I would like to run this code. So here we are getting that I and j. Okay. So we have not declared that variable. So now here I'm declaring that I value and then j value. I variable and then j variable I'm trying to be declaring. Okay. So here the array is accessed with ARR, not A. Okay. That's a mistake. Okay. ARR. Now run that code. Still we are getting array. It's an array. Must and should you need to give 2-dimensional representation, because here we pass a 2-dimensional array as a parameter. Must and should you need to be give square brackets, because you need to be passed just like an array point of view. Okay. So with minimal sizes, I need passing. For example, it is 10 rows and then 10 columns, isn't it? Okay. During the program execution, here I'm providing that number of rows. For example, I have 3 rows and then 3 columns. Total, how many elements I need to give? How many elements? 9 elements I need to give. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So all the 3 elements I have given. I mean 9 elements, 3 by 3, 9 elements. The matrix has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So this is simply array. For example, if I would like to print array in a rows are changed with columns are changed with rows. I want to print the transpose of a matrix. How do we get the transpose? Can I write the transpose function? Okay, same function I'm using, same function I copied. Okay, same function here. Once again I pasted. Okay, instead of display, I need to be called transpose. Okay, so in the transpose matrix, so instead of row and column, ith row and jth column. So first I would like to print the jth row and ith column. So here I'm changing that ij values only. And here I didn't call any transpose function. Now here I'm calling that transpose. How many parameters? Here we are passing 3 parameters. One is matrix, row, and then column. 3 parameters here I pass. Okay, simply. So whatever the display function I have written, the same display function, same, but I'm printing the transpose. Instead of I row, I and then j, here I'm printing the j and then I. Okay, j and then I am printing. Okay, so simply I would like to run that same code, whether we are getting the transpose of the given matrix or not. We'll check it. How many rows and how many columns? Same 3 rows, 3 columns. The elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Check here. Is the elements are transposed? Is the elements are transposed? The original array and the transposed array. Actually, we need to print the transpose of an array, but we printed that array of elements. So now here I will print the, instead of array elements, the transposed array. The transposed array is. Okay. Simply run it. So how many elements? How many elements? How many rows? 2 rows, 3 columns. I'm giving that zigzag order. The array elements are, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now check here. You need to be check that sizes also. I given that square size, that's why we are getting that different manner. We'll go with that square size matrix representation. Three rows, three columns, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 40, 50, 20. Now check here. This is the original array and the transposed array. In the original array, 10, 23 is a row. In the transposed array, 10, 23 is a column. 40, 50, 60 is the row. 40, 50, 60 is a column. 40, 50 to 20 is a row. Transposed array 40, 50, 20 is a transposed array. So like that, we can transpose the given array. Okay, with functions. Okay, with functions. Okay. So this is the simple example how we can write the functions in 4 different cases: without argument, with any return type, without any return type, without argument, with any return type, with argument, without any return type, with argument, with any return type, any value. Okay, so try to practice all this fragment of code. Okay, so in the next section we will go with that recursions perspective. So that's about the today's section. If you have any